this is Chris Platt. WNL, Chris Platt. Hi, everybody. Big Dave here on Dave TV for this Saturday, the 23rd of June, 2012. Now, see, when I'm wearing a dark shirt, you can really see how long my beard is. One of my friends said, she gets really scared by seeing these shaved head dudes with long beards. It scares her. We're just harmless fuzzballs. Interesting article today in the Washington Post. The new Newsroom show on HBO, I guess that debuts Sunday. Aaron Sorkin. I've watched some preview. I don't get HBO anymore. I got tired of paying Comcast that extra $10-15 a month. So I whacked that. So I won't be able to watch it. Well, they'll probably run a free preview. They usually do. But, it looks like a bunch of pompous-ass journalists. One of the things I think I notice about a lot of journalists these days is how pompous and egomaniacal so many of them are. I work for Politico. I work for the Post. I'm powerful. I must be wonderful. I think it was just. I got to turn this off, man. I can't think while it's going. It's Sirius XM there, channel 33, first wave. But anyhow, yesterday, nobody cares but a bunch of pompous ass journalists. Joe Williams, who's a reporter for the Politico, gets on MSNBC and does some weird tweeting and criticizes Mitt Romney, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, he did that. Probably not a smart thing to do if you're supposed to be an unbiased journalist covering the political thing, but what the hell. So they suspend him, and who knows what his fate's going to be. I just love it when I'm going around looking at all these websites, Erik Wemple, he tries to present, he does this media blog, an opinion media blog there on the Washington Post, and he tries to be this kind of judiciary figure, issuing these judicial statements about like somehow he's a judge. He's like journalism judge. Here's a man who used to criticize the Washington Post until they hired him. Then he shut up about criticizing the Washington Post. So, he really does. He's up there in the ethics department. Yet he loves to spew this, judgmental things. And I go on his little blog there on the WashingtonPost.com, and, he's sitting there analyzing, he's dissecting this statement that Joe Williams over there at Politico has put out, reading it line by line and what the implications are. And, of course, the fact that the Washington Post and Politico don't like each other to begin with. Here is the Washington Post, who was the grand dame of Washington journalism, and here comes the upstart Politico a couple of years ago from Albritton, and they've kind of taken a lot of the flash and the bluster away from the Washington Post. Washington Post kind of become this old fart of a newspaper, and here's the Politico with all this, political news and dredge links and everything else. But anyhow, I digress. So we have Erik Wemple there on the Washington Post website last night, in his kind of pompous ass way, I'm dissecting every word of Mr. Williams here, and, I don't know. It's just, you read this stuff and you sit back and you go, God blessed be. Do these journalists, quote unquote, pay attention? Do they realize how they come off to schmucks like me outside the Beltway as a bunch of pompous a-holes? I mean, God, all of them. And then you have Erik Wemple again. This other controversy where this guy, Jonah Lehrer, did this New Yorker article where he literally repurposed some earlier piece that he did, and now they're doing a giant investigation as to whether Mr. Lehrer has done this before and whether he's a serial self-plagiarizer. Yeah. And I'm like, oh God, and this is all from, and then we have Mr. Erik Wemple, whether MSNBC and Fox are worthy and all this other. I don't know. I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm going, Erik Wemple, the guy who literally doesn't criticize his own paper because he's employed by them now. And the guy who did that horrible TBD fiasco for All Britain, I mean, a joke of a website that just went down the tubes as soon as it was launched. I mean, Mr. Wemple's got his own skeletons in his closet, and then he comes off as this kind of pompous-ass journalistic judge. I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. Then a funny thing happened yesterday. Betsy Rothstein, one of the most, she just got a nomination from TBD, again, all this crossbreeding crap of being one of the most angriest journalists in Washington or whatever. Betsy posts this, she gets this, I guess, something from Joe Williams' Twitter blog saying that he's done with Politico. So she just writes this little tiny one-line thingy. Joe Williams posts, done with Politico. Well, Drudge, I guess her friend Joe Curl or Charlie Hurt over there saw that, and they linked immediately to Betsy's page at Fishbowl, and but within minutes, gazillions of these, drudgy comments, righty journal, the Politico's rotten, Joe Williams is rotten, they're all a bunch of lefties, blah, 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 and it's just, nutty, you're reading all these things, and then about an hour later, down comes the Drudge link. It turns out that what, is taken out of context or something, that Mr. Williams is not necessarily done with Politico, that he's just on suspension and his future will be decided next week and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But you see all these journalists spinning and wheels spinning, and, it's fun to watch how nutty it's become and how crazy it is. It's journalists tripping over journalists to cover journalists for journalists, and you're kind of going, but who's covering the real news? Is anybody out there looking out for Joe Sixpack? I don't know. Journalists are just so, look at that. It's diverging. Journalists are just so busy covering themselves. It's funny. And especially here in Washington. But anyhow, interesting. Check out this Newsroom review in the Washington Post Sunday. Comes Saturday. Style section. A very good review there from Mr. What's his face? Hank Stuver. Hank Stuver! The new Tom Shells at the Washington Post. Hank Stuver. At least Hank Stuver would know. The prisoner was in color. I always said, Tom Shells did this review of the Prisoner. They did the remake of that old Prisoner show with Patrick McGowan, and they remade it for AMC. And the minute Tom Shells said the Prisoner was black and white, I said, wait a minute, Tom Shells, how can you do that? That's like cardinal. Not to know that and be a TV critic. I don't know. And I still like Tom Shells, I guess. Anyhow, as much as you can like a Washington Post. It's been nice this week. Very little Paul Farri in the paper, too. All right. I got to do something. Maybe I should braid this. Anyhow, that's Dave TV for today. Sitting here, thankfully, outside the Beltway, covering the Washington media community from afar. And as I said many times before, I love covering the Washington media community, but, you got to realize that these Capitol Hill yahoos, journalistic dingbats that are just kind of, circle jerking there from Politico and from Fishbowl and from Huffington Post and whatever, that's just a tiny percentage. A tiny part of the Washington journalism community, and very few people in the Washington townies like me really give a rat's ass about that. And, cover the real news like, the new morning man at PGC. And why you can't hear Hall & Oates on any DC radio stations. Why? Why does no DC radio station play Hall & Oates? Huh? We're going to get to the bottom of that one. So there.